All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kortni Alston with the incredible Dr. Stephanie Dean, and it's official.
It
It
is
is
official.
official.
Woohoo! Oh, we
Here's
should have
our
like
launch.
noise makers.
I know.
I have
I know.
I
We
have
need to have that.
white I have whiteboard cleaner.
I know that it's too,
Oh,
but it's too far away for me to grab. I'm like looking for it. But welcome
probably
to
got it in my coffee.
Thriving in Toxicity, and this is our bonus video podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And Thriving in Toxicity is our podcast all about helping you get through toxicity in your workplace and, believe it or not, also in your life. So
Yes.
we were kind of talking about toxicity on a personal front before we get into the dynamics of our show.
Mm-hmm.
This was supposed to be a Facebook Live.
Yes. Yeah.
And because of technology, we were unable to it kept on buffering. It buffered, guys.
An hour. It's 54 minutes.
I can't believe it. And so Stephanie and I are sitting here talking to one another, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, it's still buffering." Tried it again. We're like, "Oh my God, it's still buffering." So
Yeah, we went in and out many times. We gave it a shot. And I just want to say, we're both good at technology. We're both good at this. This is not, I don't know how to turn on my computer issue.
no, I was questioning my abilities though.
Oh, no, you're good. I know I am. You're good too.
But yeah, we're both great, and we're both very comfortable with technology. And the interesting part is when you think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a negative situation. This is something that it's still stressful nonetheless,
Mm-hmm.
but it's how we managed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will tell you this, that in managing toxicity, the best thing is finding someone who can serve as your champion, so to speak, or
Mm-hmm.
serve as a colleague to talk to, or your vent buddy.
Or your mentor, or
Yes,
yeah.
or your friend might just be a bestie that you want to
Mm-hmm.
share with. What was great is that here we are, Dr. Dean and myself, are going through this stressful situation. But what was great is that we were in it together, and she was
Mm-hmm.
cheering me on as I'm sitting here, literally at the screen like this, trying
Uh-huh.
to figure out what I'm doing next and trying
Mm-hmm.
to make it work. And so, really, this speaks to our podcast of
Yep.
really trying to provide some tangible solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
During some stressful moments, and giving you the tools that you need that's
Mm-hmm.
really going to serve you.
Definitely.
So let's talk about that. Dr. D, I go back and forth.
It's because we're friends.
Dr. Stephanie, I don't know.
That works. Answer to pretty much anything polite, really.
She told me that the other day in the hallway. She was like, "Hi, Dr. Kortni." I'm like, "Oh, I know. Okay. Before, that's great."
Yeah.
So, from a student, that is. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So it's interesting. So, let's talk about the mission of
Mm-hmm.
Thriving in Toxicity.
Because this is a passion project for both of us.
It is.
This came to, from my perspective, this came to be, because I think we both come at it from two different perspectives. You're coming at it as a happiness scholar. I'm coming at it from a sociolinguistic point of view, or from sociology. So we came at it both very passionate about the subject, and from two different areas. And I was very passionate, not only because I've seen this happen to really close friends and mentors and phenomenal people, but I've been in situations myself where this has happened, and I've had to go, call corporate or figure out ways around dealing with bullies at work and dealing with toxic people. And calling corporate is when it gets really bad. And one day I'll share a story. That was when I was a teenager. But there are levels and places where you have power and decision making. And what we want to do is start to kind of guide people not only through that process and what that process looks like, but at least for me, on a personal level, I am very passionate about empowering people to do this. Because one of the things that happens right away in these type of relationships, because it is a relationship, it's a work relationship. It may not be a romantic one, but you're still in a relationship with these people. And in these kind of relationships, when they go toxic, one of the first things that happens is removal of social support. And if you don't have that social support and you don't feel empowered to do these things, then you are stuck. So we want to start giving you the tools and empowering men and women to start feeling and knowing, not just feeling, but knowing, yeah, I'm capable of making this change. And I may not be able to change their behaviors, but I can change the way I react to it. And I can change the way that I interact with these people now. And I think that's what it comes down to. What do you think?
Because that change is important, right? And
Oh, yeah.
you're
Yeah.
right,
It's vital.
yeah, you're right as it relates to being a passion project,
Mm-hmm.
because as Dr. Dean talked about her background and a little bit about my background, I'm a happiness scholar. So my area of research actually focuses on positive psychology. And I do a lot of work as it relates to well-being at work. And so one of the things that's really important, right, when you're going through a toxic work environment is thinking about your well-being. How is it playing a part as it relates to how you're feeling? And I actually produced a YouTube video talking about toxic relationships and what that can do to us physically. If you're in a toxic relationship, that can actually increase your levels of negative patterns in regards to your health, and that could be in terms of heart problems. So toxicity is a very serious matter for us to address, but then also thinking about our well-being as it relates to that. In terms of how do we go about constructing really a well-being strategy to navigate it. And then also, how do we go about protecting ourselves, not only at work, but at home? Because think about it. When you're in a toxic work relationship, you just don't say, okay, well, the work day is over, I'm going home. You bring it home with you. You feel it. It's a part of your being. So we're here to provide information to really help individuals to be able to manage and we like to say thrive. So people who listen to our podcast, who are implementing some of these recommendations that we're sharing that are backed by science, and in many cases, we're calling them thrivers. And because it's not simply let's survive, right? It's simply let's thrive, let's elevate out of this. And as Stephanie mentioned, Dr. Dean, the value of seeing this in friends. I've seen this firsthand as it relates to people in my life, people in my circle, people within my workplace. So it's beyond just simply what I've studied. And then I've experienced it. I've experienced it myself, and I'm looking forward to sharing not only my experiences, but for you hearing about Dr. Dean's experiences, and then really for us to hear about your experience.
Definitely. This is interactive. Definitely.
Absolutely. Having that level of engagement of finding out a little bit more about you. So Dr. Dean, let's also talk a little bit about, we talked about the mission, but let's talk about who we are.
Okay.
We kind of briefly shared that.
Yeah.
But what personally has driven you, in regards to this topic? Because we talked about it briefly in the mission, and we talked about your friends, right? But what's driven you in regards to focusing now on toxicity? Because you're not only doing this podcast, you actually have this incredible, community that you're creating with women kind of getting their power back. So
it's we can do it, women. Yeah.
What's driven you to that?
So my background is in sociology / sociolinguistics / computer mediated communication, which is a lot of fancy words for research in people that don't necessarily have a voice, or their voice isn't amplified in the same way that other voices are. So I started my research while doing my PhD about 2004, I would say. And I started looking at youth that don't have a very strong political voice and women who are leaving situations of domestic violence. I studied domestic violence for about, I would say, a decade now, maybe. And what was interesting when I started seeing, what really spurned this specific and this kind of transition from research in domestic violence to research in workplace well-being, happiness, toxicity, was an experience that I watched a very good, amazing woman go through, who got bullied out of the workplace. She ended up leaving the workplace. And as I was watching these cycles of what was happening to her, I thought, these are the same cycles I'm seeing in domestic violence. They're very similar. The self-talk that happens after these cycles, which is a great place to catch people and try to empower them back out of these negative thought spirals, which goes very much into well-being, which you do. But also the cycles of how they break down the person to get to that point, because we don't go into a new job going, I'm going to fail today. Let me see how I can lose my job today. We go into it hopeful, right? What's the most, think about the most hopeful times of your life. It's when we get married. It's when we are dating a new person. It's when we start a new job. It's all these new beginnings. We don't go into these new beginnings thinking, this is the day I'm going to go in and fail. Hopefully you don't. I hope you don't. If you do, come let's talk. But as I saw these cycles that were mirroring cycles of domestic violence, I thought, it's not just in romantic relationships. We're in relationships at work. They hopefully aren't crossing those lines, but they are still a relationship between us and other people. And there's this give and take, and there's this trust. So if we start looking at it from that lens, then maybe we can start really tackling this toxicity at work and start looking at it as something that we can empower people against, as we do towards domestic violence victims.
Absolutely. Well, I love what you shared in regards to the fact of that connection, right? Some of the similarities, that correlation between these groups, and love hearing about your passion. For me, in terms of venturing into positive psychology, it's interesting because my PhD is actually from the University of Florida. Go Gators.
We have reindeer. Ours were reindeer in Sweden.
A little chomp there. Oh, good for your reindeer, right? So I'm a part of the Gator Nation. So my PhD is University of Florida, College of Journalism and Communications. And I went into the PhD program really focusing on studying work. And labor. And it was my first semester into the program when I was really challenged in my perspectives class to really kind of refine that, well, what specifically as relates to labor. So throughout my time in my research, I started to see so much about positive psychology, happiness, well-being at work, meaningful work. And then ironically enough, I started researching some more and found out one of the leading scholars in meaningful work just happened to be at the University of Florida.
Nice. Yeah.
And so one of my mentors was a part of my dissertation committee, Dr. Ryan Duffy. He's written a book called Make Your Job a Calling. And all of that in terms of the journey, and then having levels of his guidance throughout the process has really been life-changing for me, because I was drawn to this area because before my PhD, I was a television reporter for, 15 years of my career, and then transitioned to being a news director in public radio. But throughout that time, I saw so many layoffs in the industry, which made me really concerned about my colleagues. How are they feeling? How are they coping? And also what we can do and what we can do better. So although I went to the program thinking about simply work, I was really challenged in the program and fell in love with all things positive psychology. And so now that's I'm a happiness scholar, that being my area.
That's like the best job title. I just want to throw that in there. It's literally, I have another friend who's a sci-fi literature professor, and that's pretty cool too. But yeah.
and I love it because it not only fits with my life in terms of work, it fits into our life in terms of life. And so, from work, part of my story is the fact that when I was working my dream job as a television reporter in Philadelphia, I was living a nightmare, became a widow at the age of 25. And so all of this has really kind of fueled my passion to serve people, to help them have a happier life. So even though, I began studying positive psychology my PhD program and built my scholarship on that, I was really always focused in on how can I create a happier workplace when I was a news director? How can I actually be that, happy and motivational person with people in my workplace and in my life? And it's so funny. I reconnected with a college friend years ago on Facebook who shared with me, "You were always motivating us in high school." And I go, "I was." And so it's been a while, guys. I mean, it's been a while for high school. So, but it speaks to levels of me. And that's the beauty of this project, is that it speaks to levels of the both of us. And as Dr. Dean talked about, and I thank you so much for recognizing my title as a happiness scholar. Today is a special day for my group because of the fact it's International Day of Happiness.
Yes.
And
yeah.
the reasons why we want to have this discussion today. Yeah. And I'm wearing my shirt that says "Feel Good."
Yep.
And so it's all about International Day of Happiness is created by the United Nations for us to have this day of focusing in on this universal approach of sparking happiness and well-being. And
especially right now,
understanding that it's so important right now. And I know we really haven't talked about that, but right now, as we're dealing with the coronavirus, right, and many of us now, work is looking very differently.
Yeah.
It's I think for Dr. Dean and myself, we both believe that this is really an important time for us to have this conversation. So we're so excited about being able to talk more and to share more and to meet more thrivers.
Yes.
This time.
Yes.
So
and to mentor more thrivers too.
Yes. Yes. We can't wait.
Right. Because you may not feel like you're thriving now, but that doesn't mean you can't. And it doesn't mean you won't. It just means that maybe that's not the time right now, but you'll get there.
Absolutely.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. It's such a process. You know what? And if this will help your visualization, think about the fact that you're on this road and every step you take is about levels of empowering yourself. All right.
Like the book you have behind you.
Yeah.
The places you're going to go when you thrive.
Yeah, you're right. But I wish I could show that sign behind me because it says kindness changes everything. And we have to have levels of self-compassion while we're on that journey.
Yes. So, kindness to yourself as well.
Kindness to self.
So important.
It is. It is. So look, we hate to end our conversation, but
we can go. We can go.
Dr. Dean and I love talking to each other. It's
just like 6 hours at a time. Be regular. Just a little bit.
Who's counting when you have a wonderful person like that? So, and she's phenomenal, and we're looking forward to meeting you and seeing you. And so please, in this video, during the thread below, we're going to be posting this on all of our pages and even in on our profile pages. Below, tell us about what you want to hear about toxicity. Tell us about your toxic work environment, maybe a toxic relationship, and things that you feel empowered. Like, tell us about some times where you've had these dynamite moments, because thriving in toxicity is TNT, right? Dynamite moments where you felt empowered because of the fact of standing strong in a toxic either relationship or work environment. Well, we love to hear from you. And also, we love to hear what you thought about our backgrounds that we shared thus far. Because believe me, there's actually much more in regards to our story. But we've had,
and it'll come out.
come out. But that says a lot about, creating a safe environment. And we hope that you feel the same about creating a safe environment to share with us. So comment below. This is a bonus video podcast. Let us know if you'd like to see more of these bonus video podcasts.
Yeah.
When we get them on Facebook, when there's no technical difficulty. But let us know what you think about the video. Let us know what you think about the podcast. And we will be uploading via audio podcasts, where all podcasts are available every Monday. So this is a bonus video because this is, we get to have a chance to actually see you, but you can listen to us via where you like to listen to your podcast.
Anywhere you download.
Anywhere you download. I like iTunes.
Me too.
But please, really looking forward to meeting you guys. Let's continue to thrive together.
Right.
Have a great one.
You too. Bye.